In this second part of lesson 7, we are going to deal with people. People is important, is critical in an organization. So we are going to deal with people from two perspectives. One, we are going to get a bit deeper, not so deep in fact, but a bit deeper, okay, is who leads the rest of the company to do something. So we are going to deal with managers and leaders, okay? And then we are going to give some insights. We are going to tiptoe into human resources management, but as I told you, just a bit, because you have got an entire subject about human resources management. So, well, no need to get really deep into that. Okay, so managers and leaders. Well, normally we all assume that the managers of a company are the people who rule the company. But what are the leaders? Well, the leaders are the people who lead the people of the company to do something. So it's interesting because both managers and leaders play important roles in the implementation of the strategy. The managers have got formal authority. I mean, a manager rules because he or she is the boss. That person is on top, is the CEO of the company, or is the the chief marketing officer, or is job boss of a specific unit or whatever. Okay, so in fact, these managers gather the efforts of the organization towards the goals and need to face the complexity of day-to-day situations and so on. Okay, you know what happens with the boss of a unit of a department in a retail store, for instance. That boss says, okay, you have to do this, you have to do, they organize, okay? They have a formal authority. They tell the rest what they have to do or not because they are the boss. What's the thing with a leader? Well, the leaders needn't be bosses. A leader has got a moral authority. I mean, people feel that they can believe in leaders. So people feel influenced by leaders. So a leader influences the members of the organization to grant their commitment. And sometimes these leaders, many times, they don't have the formal authority. Well, leaders are especially interesting for changes. When we need to change, when there are change times, some leaders appear, so they are moving the rest of the people, do this, do that, advising, helping, that. This is the role of a leader. Have you realized that in this COVID-19 crisis, in your environment, even amongst your class and so on, some natural born leaders are helping some of the students to carry on with the subjects, to deal with the problems and so on? Well, this is the role of leadership. Leaders have got a moral authority. They are not bosses, okay? And sometimes even no one chose them, but they emerge. And some of the times they are managers that also have got a moral authority, so they lead, okay? Well, the perfect situation is that. I mean, if a manager is at the same time a leader, that's great, because the person who has got a formal authority has also got a moral authority, has the ability to influence the rest of the members in order to make them, to persuade them, or to help them to do what they have to do. Okay? So, imagine a manager who is not a leader. Well, the problem of a manager who hasn't got leadership abilities is that you have to obey, and just that. Well, in that situations, people just follow the rules, but maybe no new ideas are going to be put on the table and so on. Okay, if a leader is not a manager and it's just based on charisma, people just believe, and it's another problem, because if it's just about believing someone, well, you can be persuaded of anything, and that's a problem. So normally the perfect situation is that managers are leaders and leaders are managers, okay? Obviously, leaders are critically related with implementation. Leaders, when there are change situations, leaders are normally the people who are going to help the rest of the organization to change, to carry out this change, okay? So leadership style conditions strategy and should be aligned with it, okay? Which are the main roles of leadership? We are going to consider 4 main roles. First main role, the basic orientation of the strategy. Well, a good leader, okay, creates the strategy or influences the strategy or gives the main insights of the strategy. Normally, this kind of leader is called visionary leaders. Do you remember when we studied in the first term the mission, vision, and goal? Okay, and the vision is how we perceive the company in the long run if we are deeply successful. Okay, normally these visions are launched by these visionary leaders. So when, for instance, Roberto Izueta was the top manager, the chief executive officer of Coca-Cola, but also a leader. Okay, he stated, okay, our own real competitor is water. Well, that's some kind of vision, and this enlightens the organization, and this creates a strategy for the company. Okay, so a visionary leader is going to be the one who influences the creation of the strategy, all the process, and so on. Also, a leader is responsible for the organizational design. So, the organizational structure we have studied in part 1 is going to be decided, influenced, and so on by the leadership of the company. Okay, so these leaders are going to divide the company into units. These leaders are going to distribute the power, balance the power between the units, and so on. Also, leaders influence the organizational culture. This is something we are going to study in the last part of this lesson. I mean, it's really frequent that the values assumed by a company, so the culture, okay, is heavily influenced by the leaders, by the present and past leaders. I mean, the fingertips of a previous leader or of the current leader are frequently clear in a company, and many stories about what the leader does or what the leader did in the past, okay, remain and are present amongst the people of a company. For instance, you know Mr. Roach, okay, the chief executive officer of Mercadona. You know, he's a family man, and these family man principles are clear in some of the actions, in some of the values of Mercadona. Okay, so Mercadona takes care of families, and the shifts are changed and can be changed because of families, and some options are given to take care of children and so on. Well, okay, this is aligned with the values of the leader of the company, who is in this case also the manager of the company. Finally, a good leader deals with the political pressures of a company. Do you remember what we said in the first term about stakeholders? Okay, a good leader deals with the different stakeholders and tries to balance the needs, okay, the urgencies of the different stakeholders. A good leader says, okay, what do you need by this? What do you need by that? And so on. Well, for instance, have you realized that derived from this COVID-19 crisis, some football teams have asked their players to reduce their salaries, okay? Well, different teams have done it in different ways. Some teams, it has been the management which have said, okay, no, we need to cut this level and so on. In some other teams, the top managers, okay, the chief executive officers, have called the captains, who are somehow the leaders amongst the players, and they have talked to them. They have said, okay, no, we need to reduce the salaries because of this, that, and the leaders have persuaded the rest of the players to do something or not. Okay, so in fact, these leaders are dealing with these political pressures, with the wants and needs of the different parts of the organization. Okay, so I am going to present you 9 leadership styles, and I took them from a blog, but this blog is based on many theories which are very frequent. I am going to tell you quickly because I don't want you to know this by heart. But the practice, the assignment I asked you for is about this. So you need to read it, you need to assume it, and you need to give me some examples of this, okay? Well, first of all, kinds of leaders. A natural leader. A natural leader is named by no one. Is a leader that emerges from a circumstance, from a crisis, okay? In a crisis, there are some people who take the flag and say, okay, we should do this, we should do that. I am going to give you immediately an example of natural leader. Wait a bit. Okay, authoritarian leader. Authoritarian leader is more a manager than a leader. I rule, and I am going to say this, do this, you have to do this. Don't discuss my authority. Why? Because I am the one who rules here. Okay? Normally, an authoritarian leader is a bad leader who takes the credits of success but tries to blame the rest on failure. Okay, this can work sometimes, but the majority of times doesn't. As an authoritarian leader is an example of bad leadership, let me keep this example for me, and if you want to look for examples, do it, okay? And also you can include them in the comments. A charismatic leader. A charismatic leader is someone who has got aura, okay, who is clearly influencing the people in the organization because of his, her spirit, image, and so on, enlightens an organization. Life after a charismatic leader is very complicated because normally next leaders are not going to be similar as the previous leaders. Sometimes these charismatic leaders come there because something happened and so on. In my case, from my point of view, a good example of a charismatic leader is Simeone, for instance. Okay, Simeone clearly manages all the emotions and the feelings in Atlético de Madrid. I don't mean the players. I mean the players, even the managers, also the hooligans, the fans, and so on. Okay. Now, then we have got a democratic leader. A democratic leader is a leader who allows the people to participate and offer their ideas, and the democratic leader guides the process. Okay, helps the people to participate. No, you wanted to say something. Maybe this person knows something about this. Maybe that person helps, and so on. This is very useful for talented organizations, but when you want all these talented people to share their ideas in order to build something better, okay? A democratic leader is a really good one, and is a really desired one. But also, let me tell you that it's not ideal for some organizations which don't need so much talent. What I mean is that there are organizations where you have to do something. Imagine an assembly line. Do you need many ideas from the people working in the assembly line? Normally not. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that. So you don't need a democratic leadership in that cases. But democratic leadership can be useful in, for instance, a consultancy firm or in an audit company or so on. Laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means to let do. Okay? Let people do things in their way, providing them what they may need to do it. Okay, it's perfect for dealing with extreme talent. When you have got extremely talented people, you don't even need them to drop their opinions. You don't need to share opinions amongst each other. No, everyone is talented. Maybe everyone is something like a bit has got a bit of diva or prima donna or something like that. So normally they are not going to accept some advice from anyone else and so on. Okay, a good laissez-faire leader puts the conditions and the resources in the hands of these people. Okay, a bureaucratic leader deals with a bureaucratic organization. A bureaucratic leader is about giving orders and giving guidelines for the people. Okay, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this in this way, to do that in this way. Okay, normally they ignore the needs of a specific people. No, you are not, when you are inside a bureaucratic organization, you are not so much a person. You are part of the organization. So it's not what you need, or it's not your ideas, and it's not, Sometimes, obviously, a bureaucratic leader is not tyrannic, is not authoritarian, not exactly like that. Can be sometimes paternalistic. Okay, no, look, I am going to give you this so that you can use it and so on, and I am going to help you. Okay, no, that's not the thing. It's not so terrible as the authoritarian. But in fact, no, but why shouldn't I? No. Look, no, you're going to do this, Then, there are people-oriented leaders. People-oriented leaders are very interesting because they are given a team and they try to understand the strengths, the weaknesses, and the opportunities of development of the people around them. I mean, you are given some people and you have to deal with them and you say, okay, so I feel that this person is really good at giving advices. This other person is really good at telling stories. This other person is really good at this. This other person. So a good leader analyzes which are the strengths of the people. They don't need to be tremendously talented, but you know that anyone you know has got some talents. Well, a good people-oriented leader understands these talents, put them all together and say, okay, so long as you're good at this, I am going to give you these tasks and so on so you can develop your full potential. Okay, that's it. A transactional leader is based on compliance. I mean, you have to do this, this, that. If you fulfill it, I am going to give you rewards. If you don't, I am going to punish you. Okay, so it's about motivation. So the tasks we have to develop are this, 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 that. Sometimes it's not like the bureaucratic leader. No, you have to do exactly this task and this other and this other. This is not an assembly line. But the goals we have to fulfill are this, this, that. Okay, do it your way, I can help you and so on. And I will reward if you do it and I will punish you if you don't. And finally, a transformational leadership is a true inspiration for the team. These transformational leaderships are the people who come into an organization which is doing the things in one way and so on, and they put the organization upside down, so after that leader, the organization is never going to be the same. It also can happen with small teams. Someone comes and this person changes so much the organization, so much the team, so much the group, that the team is never going to be the same. It's always going to be better, work in a better way, and so on. Okay, and this is a transformational leader. It's not about charisma, it's not about aura, it's about understanding the people. It's people oriented, it's charismatic, it's democratic when needed, but it turns the organization the way to do things. Okay, I am going to give you an example of leadership and about a natural leader, and it's Maximus, okay, in Gladiator. Well, I've got a former student, Luis Gonzalez, who is a coach, okay, and he prepared a video for me. I am sorry that the video is in Spanish. Well, this is just an example, but if you watch in English the scene, you will see how Maximus emerges as a leader when he is in the arena. I mean, they are dropped into the arena to fight some other people and so on, and he says, okay, who has been part of the army? I have. Okay, do this, do that. Okay, so he takes the role of leadership. He's a natural leader. No one is naming Maximus. He is also profiting from the experience of the rest of the people and so on. Okay, so if you can understand the video in Spanish, watch the video because it will give you some insights. Sorry, but I couldn't ask my former student to record it in English. About human resources management. Well, we are not going to get deep into this, okay? You have got a complete subject. But there are three main tasks of human resources management, which are attracting people, developing people, and retaining people. About attracting people means getting the people needed. It can be from inside the organization or outside the organization. You get the people you need to do the tasks and to do the things you need to do in the organization. How do you do that? You recruit. You recruit the people, you select them, you socialize them into teams, and or you promotion them from lower echelons of the company. So imagine that you need a new chief marketing officer. Okay, you can either hire that person from the outside of the organization or promote someone from the inside of the organization. Okay, the main choice about attracting human resources, the main choice is between doing. I mean, doing means generating people internally. You train people, you promote people along the years, okay? Or buying. Buying means hiring people from outside, okay? There's obviously a mix. I mean, when there's a place, when there's a position in a company, they can offer the position both internally and externally so that people who have been trained internally can be part of the selection process, and some other people from outside the company can also be part and compete altogether, okay? But the main choice is between doing and buying. So if you decide to do, I mean, if you decide that your next year's managers are going to be trained, are going to be created from inside the organization, well, you have to invest in training, you have to evaluate people, you have to do some things. And normally you will increase the commitment of your people. But on the other hand, if you are buying, normally you can get the best people available, because it's possible that the best person available for a place is not inside your organization. Okay, so, well, doing or buying. This also depends on the kind of organization, obviously. I mean, in some organizations, they have made a complete bet on full careers. In El Corte Inglés, it was very typical that some of the top managers of El Corte Inglés started being a basic seller at El Corte Inglés. This has been very typical. Also, developing. What's developing? Increasing the strategic value and potential of the human resources you have got. Okay, so you can train your human resources, increasing their knowledge and also abilities so that they can assume further responsibilities. Okay, obviously this is related with attracting, with doing or buying. You are going to invest in training more if you want to promote your internal people, and less if you don't want, if this is not your decision. Okay. Also, in development comes evaluating the performance of human resources. How do we evaluate our people? Well, we can be oriented to processes or results. I mean, we can analyze what they do or which have been their results, the performance. Or the evaluation can be individual, person by person, or groupal, by units or teams. Can be subjective or objective. Subjective means that there are people who carry out these evaluations, or objective, I mean based on some measurements. This is typical of when it's result oriented. Normally there are mixes of things. And who evaluates you? Well, it depends on the companies. Normally it's really typical that your boss evaluates you. But in our case, for instance, as professors, it's not just our department or our boss or our colleagues and so on. It's mainly our students, our customers. Okay, so the evaluation can come from your boss, your colleagues, your customers, your many people. If everyone around you evaluates you, this is called 360 degrees evaluation. Okay, because everyone around you evaluates. And finally, the third important thing is retaining. Retaining means keeping the valuable human resources. Imagine that you have trained someone, for the future of the company and so on, and that person leaves the organization. Okay, it's important to be able to offer people something valuable so that they are committed and they stay. Obviously, the basic things is salaries with different philosophies. Salaries could be just fixed, could be fixed and variable, could be purely variable or mainly variable. It depends. But salaries are a first possibility of retaining and also of attracting. But there are some other compensations as benefits, retirement plans, a car, or some facilities for your family, some opportunities, and so on. Something important to retain people is the creation of an adequate climate inside the organization. I mean, creating a place where people like to work. It has been studied that some people will assume a lower salary, not a really tremendously lower salary, but a lower salary if they feel easy inside the organization. Have you seen these publications, these ranks about great place to work and so on? Well, they evaluate the companies based on if they are offering their people a comfortable climate so that they feel that they are much better inside that organization than inside any other organization. Okay, so we have dealt with human resources management, and then we have got the third part.